We are meant to call from out of the past stories, strange and weird.
Tales of mystery and terror by radio's masters of the macabre.
Stories of the supernatural, the supernormal, dramatized in fantasy, the mystery, the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginary plays, we urge you calmly, sincerely, to turn off your radio now.
This is The Horror, your weekly offering of old-time radio horror stories brought to you every Saturday at relicradio.com. Our story this week comes from The Whistler, CBS series that aired from May of 1942 to September of 1955, sponsored by the Signal Oil Company. The episode we'll hear today is from July 2nd, 1943. It's titled The Avengers.
Have you heard the strange tales of The Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
No, it wasn't a dream. It was too real. This is what I've been afraid of. I know you don't believe me. You think I'm insane, both of you.
Friday night, and CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the weird story of the Avengers. In the great Southwest, a range of high mountains extends as far as the eye can see. This is mining country, silver and gold. Halfway down the mountain is a tiny village, the mining town of Rainbow, a raucous sort of place composed of a number of stores, many saloons and the Federal Land Office, where the fortune hunters file their claims. 15 years ago, Rainbow was a rip-roaring village, and in a back room of the Crystal Palace bar, a young man and a young woman hold an earnest conversation.
Tell me, Miss Martin, how long have you been in this town?
Oh, about 2 years. Came here from Kansas City.
And you know my brother, John Maddox?
I certainly do.
How well do you know him?
Well enough. He came out here a year ago, and he's been hiding out up on the mountainside ever since. Got a cabin up there.
Prospecting, of course.
Who isn't?
How well do you know him?
Oh, he used to come into town quite often. I got acquainted with him in here. First, I fell for him in a big way, but he seemed to resent it. Finally gave me the cold shoulder.
Well, he has a wife and a 5-year-old daughter back east.
That's what he said, but I didn't believe him. He's a bit nutty, isn't he?
Nutty? No, I wouldn't say nutty. He's a smart boy. He's an engineer. Graduate of the State School of Mines.
He is? Well, what's he doing here, living like a hermit?
I wonder. So he gave you the cold shoulder, huh?
He certainly did.
Well, John is an educated mineralogist. He came out here to make a strike. And if anyone does, he should be that one. Maybe he's located a vein of ore.
What do you have on your mind, Mr. Maddox?
Well, I thought maybe you'd seen him visiting the Assayer's office a little more often than usual.
And what if I have?
Or the land office?
Go on, Mr. Maddox.
Well, I wouldn't be interested in knowing the activities of an ordinary prospector. But a graduate mining engineer like John, well, he may have a lead on something good.
Yes?
And I thought, that is, I heard you might be more or less familiar with his activities.
That's right. I am.
And maybe you'd like to come in with me.
What do you mean?
You know where he's been working. You know the area he's most interested in, so if you let me know, I'll beat him to it. We'll split.
Split?
That's right. How about it?
Sure. Why not? You know, I think I'm going to like you, Mr. Maddox.
Frank is the name, Melva.
All right, Frank. This is it. He has found a spot. It didn't mean much to me until now, but he's been working on the same location for a week or more. I'm sure he's hit something.
Good. That's all I wanted to know. I'll just drop in and surprise him. See you later, Melva.
See you later, partner.
And so that night, John Maddox is working on some maps and papers. The meager lamp throws a dim light about the room. For an hour, he sits at the table. Then suddenly the silence is shattered by a sound from the kitchen.
Who's there? Come out of there. Come on. What are you doing here? What do you want?
Nothing.
How long have you been in that kitchen?
Why?
So you're the little thief that's been stealing my things, huh? What are you after this time?
Nothing.
I know who you are. You're Tony Watson.
So what?
Just this. You're the one who pinched my camera, my binoculars. Yes, and several other things.
I didn't know.
And I'm turning you over to the sheriff right now.
Sheriff! No, I didn't take him. I didn't. I didn't steal anything, but
But what?
I know who did.
Why, you little liar. You're the one. And believe me, you're caught on the job this time, and I'll... just a minute. Sheriff.
I didn't.
Hey, come back here. Why, that little devil. Just a second. Well?
Hello, John.
Frank.
That's right, your brother Frank himself.
Come in. What do you want? What are you doing here?
Oh, just dropped in town. Thought I'd see how you were doing.
Getting along all right.
But you might like to hear about your wife and your daughter.
Is that why you came here?
Your wife is very well. Your daughter's just 5 years old today. I'm still wondering how you're getting along and when you're going to send for them.
I know all about that. I'm going to send for them very soon.
Are you? All going to live in this little shack?
Certainly not. There's something a lot better by the time they arrive.
Will you? Oh. Didn't have a dime when you left.
Yeah, thanks to you and your lies. I know who's responsible for Father's cutting me off with only $1. You.
Have you struck pay dirt here, John?
No.
What are all these interesting papers and maps on the table?
Nothing.
Oh, but they must mean something.
Get away from that table. Let them alone.
Put up your hands and stand
if
back.
If you touch those papers...
Get back there. Uh-huh. Interesting. So you have struck something. All ready to be recorded.
Frank, if you dare, I'll kill you.
Why do you think I came here?
You
Don't
dirty...
worry, I'll settle up later. I'll see you get a share.
My wife and my daughter, Doreen, they haven't a cent. I've not been able to give them anything in months. You can't do this.
Do what?
You put those papers down, Frank, or I'll break your dirty neck.
You'd better stay where you are.
Oh, no, I'll kill you. First, I'll kill you.
John, you're crazy. Keep back. Keep away.
You crazy fool. I told you I'd shoot. You're the fool, Frank. You're the fool. You won't get away with this. I'll see to that. You'll pay, Frank. I'm not through with you yet. You and everything you hold dear will be taken away. You'll pay it back, Frank. To me and mine. If I have to climb out of my grave.
John! John!
Frank stands for a moment, then stuffs the papers and maps into his pocket and rushes to the door and into the night. A few seconds later, a face at the window disappears and suddenly reappears through the back door. And a boy stands looking at the inert figure on the cabin floor.
Huh. Serves him right. You won't tell the sheriff anything about me now.
15 years have passed, and now the little mining village of Rainbow is a thriving city of mines and smelters. And the richest mine of all is the one owned by Frank Maddox. And Frank Maddox rules the city. Frank is married now and has a child, a girl of 5. The child has been ill for days. And tonight, as Frank Maddox steps through the door, his wife meets him with a strange, vacant stare.
Melba, what's happened? How is she?
She's... Oh, Frank.
All those doctors, and they couldn't save her.
No. They said she didn't have a chance. They did their best.
Fools, what good are they? What are they paid for? They don't even know what was wrong with her.
No, Frank. But, well, whatever it was horrible. She died in agony.
Specialists. I told them they could name their own price. The sky was the limit.
It didn't seem to make any difference.
Oh, the poor little thing, the poor baby.
It didn't seem to be anything serious at first. It was just a week ago. She was sitting at her desk, drawing pictures, and then all of a sudden she started to gasp for breath and fell to the floor in a faint.
Yes, I know.
And then she lapsed into a coma. Oh, Frank. Frank, what was it? Why?
Darling,
I couldn't think.
what is it?
I can't get my breath.
Here, drink this.
Frank, I didn't want to tell you, but I'm frightened. I've had it for several hours. It's just like the baby. The same thing.
The baby and now you. I know what it is. It's him. It's John.
John? Your brother?
Yes, I knew this was going to happen. John told me.
But John's dead.
The night the baby took sick, I saw him in a dream. He told me something was going to happen to us, and last night I saw him again. He was grinning and laughing. He told me that...
Told you what?
He told me that he'd finally reached through to me, that he'd finally made contact.
That's crazy.
He said tomorrow would be a sad day for me. Today.
But it's a dream.
I know, but he said something else. He said that now his wife was dead, that the sooner I made things right with his daughter Doreen, the better.
Frank, that's nonsense.
No, there must be something to it. I'll find the girl. I'll get her down here. I'll try to fix things up. Maybe that'll stop all this.
Frank, please use your head. It was a dream.
I've got to find that girl. I'll send Anthony to find her. I'll explain the whole thing to him. He can find her.
But why tell him about it?
Well, he's my assistant. I confide in him. He'll find her.
Very well, then. Tell Anthony. Tell him to find her and bring her here. Because if you... Frank.
Melba, darling.
Please find that girl. Doreen.
Frank Maddox carries his stricken wife to her room and calls the doctor. The next day, he explains in a way to his young assistant, Anthony Watson. Anthony rushes to the east to locate Doreen Maddox, and needless to say, he does. Before she knows what it's all about, she's aboard the train with young Anthony.
Didn't you even know you had an Uncle Frank?
Oh, yes, of course. But I didn't know much about him.
When did your mother die, Doreen?
5 years ago. She committed suicide.
What became of your father?
Oh, he went west to prospect for gold or silver or something. But he got into trouble. Someone shot him, and that's all I know about it.
Has your Uncle Frank ever offered to help you?
No, not that I know of. Father never mentioned it if he did.
He's a very rich man, you know, and, as I've told you, very ill.
Ill?
Well, he's sort of mentally ill, as well as physically.
Oh?
Doreen, are you... That is... Well, a girl as lovely as you should be engaged, or in love.
But I'm not.
You're not? Really?
No.
Well, that's wonderful. I can't believe it.
Well, it's the truth, whether you believe it or not.
Oh, I believe you. And, well, I'm glad to hear it.
And so you see, Doreen, I'd completely lost track of you. I've wondered about you and your mother since the tragic death of your father.
Mother died several years ago, Uncle.
Yes, I should have attempted to locate you long ago.
Should you?
Yes, you're my brother's child. It was my duty to look after you. See that you want for nothing.
Oh, but I've been getting along all right.
I've not been well, Doreen. I've been quite ill lately. I've been terribly upset, my nerves.
Perhaps you've been working too hard.
No, it isn't that. Doreen, I'd like you to stay here. Make this your home. And I have a check for you, a little present, $5,000.
No, please, Uncle. That isn't necessary.
You must accept it, Doreen. You must.
I don't need it. I'll be glad to stay here with you until you're better. But really, I don't know what I'd do with $5,000.
I'd feel better if you accepted it. And perhaps your father would...
Father would what?
Doreen, I must tell you. I've got to tell you. It's driving me mad. John is trying to kill me.
Oh, Uncle. Father's been dead for years.
I know, but he died hating me.
Hating you?
He blamed me for his having been cut off with only $1 in our father's will. But he was wrong, and... Well, now he's trying to kill me.
Oh, I can't believe such a thing.
I have horrible nightmares. John appears to me, always threatening me. He came to me the night my little daughter became ill, and then after she died. He came again when my wife was stricken, and said that after she was gone, it would be my turn.
But that's just your imagination, Uncle. Well, get it out of your mind.
I can't. I'm afraid to go to sleep.
You only see him in your dreams?
Yes, but each time he comes nearer, closer, more real. Oh, it isn't just imagination. I'm afraid that one of these days I'll see him when I'm not asleep.
And you think my being here will help matters? Is that it?
Yes. If he knows you're here, that I'm taking care of you and have your welfare at heart, perhaps he'll let me alone.
Prove to him that he judged you wrongly?
Yes. I must make him understand. I can't go on this way. I'm a physical wreck. I'm afraid my mind will snap.
I understand, Uncle. I'll try to help you. But you must try to get this off your mind.
Yes, I'll try.
You'd better go to bed now, Uncle.
Please, take the check.
Very well. Good night.
An hour passes, and in spite of himself, Frank drops into a fretful sleep. He moans and tosses about, and as usual, he dreams of John again. Sees him come through the wall and stand in the center of the room.
You won't get away with it, Frank. Everything and everyone you hold dear will be taken away. You'll pay it back, Frank, to me and mine.
No. Leave me alone. Anthony! Doreen! Doreen!
Uncle! Uncle, what is it?
What's happened? Doreen, he was here just now. I saw him. I heard him laughing.
But, Mr. Maddox, that isn't possible.
I heard him, I tell you. You could hear his laugh all over the house.
I heard nothing, Uncle, not a sound.
I woke up, I tell you. I heard him.
But, Uncle, you must have been dreaming. Well, I haven't been asleep since I left you. I've been reading. I didn't hear a sound.
You didn't hear anything, really?
No, not a sound.
You, Anthony?
I heard nothing. You were just dreaming.
Oh, no, it was too real. This is what I've been afraid of. I know you don't believe me. You think I'm insane.
Uncle, please.
Yes, maybe I am.
Come, Anthony.
No, Doreen. Don't go, please.
But, Uncle, there's nothing I can do. It's up to you. You must convince yourself that it's all imagination. Good night, Uncle.
And then the next night comes, and Frank dreams again, the same frightful dream. John appears, repeats the same words, and laughs in the same way. Frank is wide awake now, shaking with fear, and all the while trying to convince himself that it's only his imagination. Then the bedroom door opens suddenly. Doreen steps into the room. Her face is white with fear. She trembles as she moves slowly toward the bed.
Uncle.
Doreen, what is it? What's wrong?
Uncle, just now, I heard something.
What? Doreen, what did you hear?
I must have been dreaming. I must have. But it was so clear.
Your father?
Yes, I heard him. And he was laughing.
Then if you heard him, it must be true. He has come back.
Oh, did you hear it, too?
Yes, he was here in this room. What did he say to you?
I can't remember. I was so frightened. But I heard him. And then laughed.
Now you believe me. Now you know I'm not imagining things.
Oh, Uncle, I don't know. I'm so frightened I don't know what to think. I can't stay here any longer. I've got to leave. I can't stay another night.
Oh, Doreen, please, don't go. Not yet. Promise that you'll stay just a while longer. Please.
But, Uncle, all right, I'll try. I'll stay.
Then comes the next night, another dreadful night of horror. Frank tries his best to control his mounting fear as evening passes and midnight comes. He fights sleep, the sleep that brings him nothing but horrifying dreams and the voice of John. But finally he can hold out no longer, and his eyes close. A half hour goes by, then...
Frank, you're not asleep, Frank. You're wide awake, and this is real.
John, what do you want? Tell me. I'll do it. I'll do anything.
I told you you'd pay. Everything and everyone dear to you would be taken away. At this very moment, your wife is dying, Frank. First your daughter, now your wife, and then you.
John, please, I'll do anything.
Then sit down at that table and write. Write a will. Everything to the one it belongs to. My daughter, Doreen.
Yes, I'll do it.
And a confession, Frank.
Confession?
A confession that you came to my cabin that night and killed me.
Oh, no, I can't, John.
You can and you will.
They'll hang me.
They won't hang you.
No?
Write the will and the confession.
Yes, but I'm afraid that...
They won't hang you. Because in just 1 minute, you will be dead.
John,
Hurry,
no.
Frank. You haven't much time to save your soul. You're going to have a stroke, Frank. In just a minute, you'll feel a sudden beating of your temples. A stroke is what they'll call it. And you'll be dead. Hurry.
Yes, I'll write it. I will.
Your conscience will be clear, Frank, and that'll be best for you, I know. I said I'd reach you if I had to crawl out of my grave.
There it is. Now, please leave me alone, Frank. Please.
Too late, Frank. You're going back with me. Look at the clock. 15 seconds left. Now it's starting. Your head is beginning to whirl. Strange sounds beat in your ears. Faster. Faster. Do you hear?
Yes, yes. Please don't, John.
5 seconds. There it is. You're dying, Frank. This is the end. The end of Frank Maddox.
No, John! John! No!
Uncle Frank! Anthony!
Doreen, what's happened? I heard him screaming.
Anthony, I think he's... Feel his pulse.
I can't find it. Not a trace.
Anthony, is he...
I don't know. He's had a stroke, I think.
I'll call the doctor.
Yes, I'll have to go after him. His car is out of order. Come on. It may be too late for the doctor, but we'd better get him anyway. Use this phone and tell him I'll be there in a few minutes.
In here, doctor.
What happened to him?
I think he had a stroke.
A stroke, eh? Well.
We heard him screaming, and when we got here, he was unconscious.
Well, he's dead. But he didn't have a stroke.
What?
You can see for yourself. He's been stabbed in the heart. You don't need me. You want the police.
You say, miss, that you heard your uncle screaming?
I did.
What did it seem to be? A scream of pain?
No, I couldn't make out what it was. But it sounded as though he was horribly frightened. It seemed as though he was pleading with someone.
Did you hear him, Anthony?
Yes, it sounded just as Doreen said, as though someone or something were after him.
What do you mean by something?
Well, I just used that as a form of expression.
And when you reached him, he was on the floor, unconscious?
That's right.
Was he dead?
We didn't know. I couldn't find any pulse, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's why I went for the doctor.
And you didn't notice the knife wound in his chest?
No.
Did you see it, miss?
No, it may have been there, but I didn't notice it.
Are you sure he didn't have a stroke, Doctor?
Positive. He may have had a collapse, fainted, but there was no stroke. He died from this stab in the heart.
What sort of instrument would you say was used?
Well, I'd say a long, thin knife, about a half-inch wide.
Like a letter opener?
Yes, sort of a stiletto.
Doctor, had you been treating Mr. Maddox lately for any particular ailment?
Well, I've been attending him frequently of late.
What was troubling him?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Are you sure?
Well, I couldn't find any definite physical trouble, but he was becoming terribly run down. Seemed to get worse each day. He couldn't eat nor sleep. Extremely nervous. Hypertension. I gave him sedatives and tonics, but they seemed to do no good, so I finally came to the conclusion that it was mental.
Mental? What do you mean?
I think he had developed some sort of phobia, a fear. What, I was never able to determine. In time, it would have resulted in insanity and finally death, or perhaps a stroke and death. But in this case, it was not a stroke.
You've been attending his wife?
Yes.
What is her ailment?
Carcinoma, but she doesn't know it. There's nothing more I can do for her, except alleviate the pain.
Miss Maddox, from the tone of your uncle's screams, would you say that there was some person in the room with him at the time?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? What does that mean?
I mean, he may have thought someone was here with him.
May have thought someone was with him.
Yes, that is...
Well, from all appearances, there was someone with him. The someone who stabbed him. Anthony, was Miss Maddox in this room when you came in?
No, we met in the hall and came in together.
Neither of you saw the knife wound.
I'm sure I didn't.
Doreen, you just said that he may have thought someone was here in this room. What do you mean?
Well, he was afraid of...
Afraid of what? Afraid of who?
Afraid of my father.
What? Why, your father's been dead 15 years.
Yes, but that's just it. I may as well tell you. He was afraid my father was trying to kill him. That's what was wrong with him, why he couldn't sleep.
Oh, bosh, now it's spooks.
No. He said that father appeared to him every night and threatened him.
Threatened him? Well, all right, so he threatened him. Why?
He said father hated him, that father thought Uncle Frank had caused him to lose his inheritance.
Well, Doctor, you think that's what was wrong with Frank?
Could have been. Quite possible.
All right, I'll grant you that. But no spook produced that knife wound. Doreen, do you believe that your father lost his inheritance because of your uncle?
No, I do not.
Are you sure?
I'm sure father did not lose his part of the estate because of Uncle Frank.
Are you sure? Could you prove that?
Well, no, I couldn't. But I never heard father mention it. I never heard him accuse Uncle Frank.
What brought you here?
My uncle sent for me.
Why?
Because he was afraid of my father. He thought my being here might help matters.
That's right, Captain. He sent me for Doreen. I located her and brought her here.
Oh, me. Oh, my. This gets worse and worse. You know all about it, too, did you?
Yes, Mr. Maddox confided in me. He had the idea that if Doreen were brought here and he showed good intentions toward her, that John would leave him alone.
Oh, poor John. What a busy guy.
It isn't funny.
You said it. Frank Maddox has been murdered, and it wasn't a spook. I know who did it, and I know why.
What are you talking about?
Frank Maddox didn't send for her. She came here of her own accord and for a definite reason.
She did not. I brought her here.
You're lying. You're trying to cover up for her.
I am not.
Because you're in love with her. Anybody can see that.
Well, what if I am in love with him? That doesn't have anything to do with this.
Frank Maddox sent me for her.
He did not. She knew that Frank was the cause of her father losing his inheritance. So she came here to kill him, and she did.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Why would she kill him? What would she gain by that?
Ever hear of revenge? If it hadn't been for Frank, her father would have been wealthy, and so would she.
But she didn't know about her father's accusations until Frank Maddox told her himself.
Oh, then you admit that she does know about it now.
I knew nothing about it until Uncle Frank told me. But I still think Father was wrong.
Whether you knew about it before you came here or learned it after you got here, what's the difference? It's a motive. You stabbed him. You left the room, and then you met Anthony in the hall. You stuck Miss Maddox, and you haven't a chance.
Wait. Wait a minute.
Mrs. Maddox, don't come in here.
And why not? Why shouldn't I come in here?
You shouldn't get up. You should...
I know all about it. I know what's happened. I've heard every word.
You're very ill, Mrs. Maddox.
I know. I heard you. And now I know what's wrong with me. I know what carcinoma is, Doctor.
Please go back to bed.
No, not just yet. Well, this girl, Doreen, you're wrong. She's innocent. She had nothing to do with it. That is, not directly.
What do you mean, Mrs. Maddox?
She didn't kill Frank. I did.
You?
She's perfectly innocent. Frank did send for her. He was afraid of John. He dreamed about him every night. He did think John was trying to reach him from the grave, trying to kill him. It was his imagination, I know, but he really believed it. And he had a good reason to believe it.
What reason?
I've heard Frank moaning and yelling for weeks and weeks. I heard him tonight. I came in here and found him on the floor. He'd made a will. This paper. Leaving everything to Doreen and explaining why. Oh.
Sit down, Melba.
Yes. Well, he came out of his faint, and I found this will. I went wild when I saw it. He tried to get it away from me. He said it had to be that way. We struggled for it, and I took the paper knife and stabbed him. I went back to my room, but I've been standing outside the door. I heard everything, particularly what you said about me, Doctor. So what does it matter? This girl is innocent.
What is this paper? Let's see it.
I'll tell you what it says. It leaves everything Frank has to Doreen. And the reason why? Frank killed John.
What?
Yes. It was all my fault. I knew John had made a strike, and I told Frank about it. Frank went to John's cabin and killed him, took the maps and the papers and filed on a claim. I was the one responsible for everything. But it all rightfully belongs to Doreen. And now... Well, now that I've heard the doctor's sentence, what does it matter?
Well, Doreen, that was lucky for you. Lucky that Melba was standing outside the door and heard the doctor. But, oh, what I know about you, Doreen. You and Anthony. Anthony did bring you down here, but on the way he fell madly in love with you. He told you about your uncle's fears, and so between the two of you, you decided to make his dreams more than real. Anthony arranged a little radio speaker in Uncle Frank's room. Yes, it was Anthony who spoke to Frank, not John's voice from the grave. Anthony merely amplified Frank's dreams, yes. You and Anthony planned to work on Frank psychologically in order to get that will and the confession. But how did Anthony know the exact words to use? The words John used when he was dying that night in the cabin? Why, because Anthony was the little boy John caught in his cabin that night. The boy who heard every word said between Frank and John. The smart little boy who saw it all.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time.
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual tale. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for this episode of The Horror. I'll be back next Saturday with the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. Between now and then, you can find more from The Whistler, past episodes of The Horror, and thousands of other old-time radio episodes at relicradio.com. Got a Shoutcast stream up and running there as well, with even more old-time radio. And if you would like to help support this whole thing, visit donate.relicradio.com or click on the link on the website. Your support makes all of this happen. My thanks, as always, to those who have. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be back tomorrow with Strange Tales and next Saturday with the CBS Radio Mystery Theater on our next episode of The Horror.
Strange Tales.
RelicRadio.com presents tales of the strange and bizarre, the weird and the wicked. Stories not necessarily of the supernatural, but of the unnatural. Join us now for Strange Tales, featuring radio drama at its most mysterious and unusual. This is Strange Tales. Thanks for joining me this Sunday. We're going to hear from Suspense this week, a CBS series that aired from 1942 to 1962, rated over 900 episodes. Our story today is from April 7th, 1949. It's titled The Noose of Coincidence.
Now, Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations present
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you Ronald Colman in Noose of Coincidence, a suspense play produced and directed by Anton M. Leader.
If you're a fellow who won't put up with second best, what are you waiting for? Replace those old narrow gap spark plugs with wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs and see the difference in your car. Your car will idle smoother, give you better power and performance on leaner gas mixtures, actually save gas. Autolite regular type spark plugs have long been standard factory equipment on many leading makes of cars and trucks. And now 6 of these leading makes of cars and trucks have switched to Autolite resistor-type spark plugs for factory installation on their new 1949 models. The new wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs are the spark plugs of today and the future. Remember, you're right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents Ronald Colman in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Do you know London? Do you remember Swan's Bookshop, 12 Edgemont Row? Well, that's it. It's hard to believe that such a quiet, unassuming shop was the scene of unusual, even fantastic happenings. The only thing out of the ordinary about my bookshop
although I feel it's most appropriate, is the sign, or rather symbol, hanging above the door. An arm, made of cast iron, holding aloft a flaming torch. I must confess that the sharp angle inside the elbow attracted some distinctly unbookish creatures. Birds, who found the crook of the arm a splendid place for nest building. I rather liked the birds beneath my bedroom windows, but some of my customers complained quite bitterly about their nesting over the door. So each spring, it became my wicked task to clear away the little home that was a building, and then to try in vain to make peace with the birds and my angry conscience.
Well, Mr. Swan, is it spring again?
Good morning, Constable.
Have a care up there on that ladder, sir. Steady.
Oh, it's not the ladder that's making my knees shaky. It's this monstrous crime I commit every year.
But if you didn't, Mr. Swan, how would the rest of us know it was spring, eh?
Yes, a distinguished career. Christopher Swan, calendar to the neighborhood.
Very honored, sir, be all of us.
Thank you, Constable.
Begging your pardon, Mr. Swan, but you have a customer in your shop?
I do not.
Yes, I saw him go in while I was halfway down the street. He walked right under the ladder, he did, with never a care.
Brave man indeed. Thank you. Good morning. I'm sorry I didn't see you enter. I didn't hear the bell. May I help you?
I don't need help. Your name is Christopher Swan?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Swan.
Oh, forgive me. I didn't quite hear.
Yeah, but you did. Christopher Swan, sir. Your name, my name.
Well, how odd.
Why? People must have names. More people than names, therefore duplication. Bound to happen. My card.
Thank you. Yeah, sure enough. Christopher Swan. Mental telepathist.
Telepathist and prophet of the future.
Oh. Well, nevertheless, it is very odd.
Well, perhaps it is. In that case, you must save my card and show it to Margaret.
Margaret?
Your wife, sir.
Oh, no, I'm afraid you're mistaken. I have no wife, and I've never been married.
Do you suppose I'm not aware of that?
You are? Well, then I don't see how you can...
Mr. Swan, mental telepathist and prophet of the future. The future. Yes. Margaret. Young woman. Pretty, too. Red hair.
Oh, now, really. I read a good bit about extrasensory perception, Mr. Swan, but when you speak of foretelling the future...
You don't believe a word of it. Well, I don't blame you. No one believes at first.
And later?
Mr. Swan, suppose we drop the subject. I've come here simply to buy some books. Perhaps we may have a little talk in a short time after your marriage.
Now, if a thing like that happened to you, you'd probably laugh at it as I did. But then if, only 5 days later, you met a red-haired girl named Margaret, and she was pretty, and the fresh perfume of spring began to engage in mortal combat with the bachelor in you, then you might begin to believe that all nature conspired to fulfill the prophecy of Christopher Swan.
Of course I want to marry you, but we know so little about each other.
Well, I think that's excellent, Margaret. It'll be an adventure, finding out.
Oh, you'll be disappointed in me. There's nothing to find out.
I don't intend to try. I expect to be content with you as you are. Well, Margaret?
Oh, I wish you hadn't told me about all that money you inherited. I'd like you to believe that I'm marrying you for yourself. Chris, will you be happy with me? Will you be content?
Happy with Margaret? Content with Margaret? Why, less than 3 months later, anyone within earshot could have told the answer to that.
Christopher!
Yes, Margaret, I'm coming.
Christopher, this back room is a sight.
Yes, Margaret.
If only you'd do some tidying about here instead of going on as you do. Talk with the customers, day in, day out. And what do you talk about? Books. Nothing but musty old books.
But that's my business, my dear.
Well, more's the pity. Why, any man with 50,000 good English pounds in Barclays Bank insists upon running an out-of-the-way little bookshop instead of going out into the world and making something of himself.
Margaret, please, there are people in the shop.
People? Loafers.
Now, see here, Margaret.
Don't you dare lose that nasty temper with me. I know you're sorry you married me, but you made a bargain. You might just as well be resigned. Till death do us part, the minister said. Till death do us part.
One day I went up to Hampstead Heath for the fair. Oh, not so much to see the fair as to get away from Margaret. I watched the children on the carousels, and the Pearlies from Lambeth Road, and the girls in white smocks selling jellied apples. And then, suddenly, there he was, again.
Well, sink me. It's my friend, the Doubter. How do you do, Mr. Swan?
Quite well, thank you.
My question, Mr. Swan, was purely rhetorical. I'm thoroughly aware that you are not doing well at all.
Wrong again, Mr. Swan.
Now, how can you say again? You did marry a red-haired woman named Margaret, didn't you?
You really believe in your powers. Candidly, I don't. The only thing thus far proven is that there are remarkable coincidences.
My dear Mr. Swan, how the thing happened is quite unimportant. All we must remember is my prediction that it would happen. I didn't say how.
Could you have done that, too?
With a little more concentration, why not? For instance, let me tell you about your wife. Your wife, Mr. Swan, is a shrew and will become more of a shrew each day.
Now, please, I don't think I care to hear about
No, don't go, Mr. Swan. Please, not while I'm concentrating. Now, let me see. Christopher Swan, born one day... I can't quite make that out. In March 1908. Birthplace, the Manor House, Lower Orchard, Bellingdon near Chesham, Bucks. 1940, removed to London, acquire bookshop. Father and mother killed in Blitz. It's a pity, Mr. Swan. You, however, inherit £50,000, right?
Yes, every bit of it. But would it be impertinent to point out that you had access to this information in several publications?
Not one bit impertinent, Mr. Swan. But tell me, in which publication could I have learned that on the 9th of November this year you will be hanged by the neck until dead?
I beg your pardon?
Don't look so taken aback, my friend. The gift of prophecy, nothing more. Ability to foresee the future.
You charlatan. Do you seriously expect me to believe...
That you'll be hanged. Of course I don't expect you to believe it, Mr. Swan. Any more than you believed my first prophecy about your marriage. But you will be hanged, Mr. Swan. Pity, really a pity. On the morning of November 9th, hanged by the neck. Until you are dead.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Ronald Colman in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Hey there, Harlow. Heard you play Truth or Consequences at a big Hollywood party.
Sure. They asked me to tell the truth, and naturally I did. I said, friends, those Autolite resistor spark plugs always give a star performance. Smoother idling, better performance on leaner gas mixtures, and actually save gas. Why, they're bigger box office than a movie star.
Hollywood stood for that?
Well, I had to tell the truth. Wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs are the spark plugs of today and the future. Yep, I said, more men go for Autolite resistor spark plugs than for glamorous movie stars. So switch from old narrow gap plugs
Yeah, they must have loved you.
There I was, telling the truth, and I had to take the consequences, too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they threw me into the swimming pool.
Well, let's duck, Harlow. Suspense is on.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Ronald Colman as Christopher Swan in Noose of Coincidence. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Good morning, Mr. Swan.
And a good morning to you, Constable.
Well, I hope it's better than the night I had. Oh, fair horrible, that's what it was. Oh, Mr. Swan, do you have any books that talk about spirits?
Oh, yes, sir. Some very fine ones. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Then there's the American psychologist William James. It's an odd coincidence. That's the man I'm reading now. There you are. William James, The Will to Believe.
Oh, it ain't the believing that bothers me. It's the will to leave it in the bottle.
The bottle?
Spirits, Mr. Swan. Ooh, last night.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Constable. You know, my mind is so set upon a certain... Well, let's see now. Spirits, spirituous, here we are. Spiritus frumenti.
Christopher!
Oh, heavens.
When will you ever clean this filthy back room?
I'll be there in half a moment, Margaret.
Not in half a moment now.
Oh, she does have a voice that carries, don't she, Mr. Swan?
Now, suppose you just browse along that shelf, Constable, and help yourself to whatever you like.
Look at this place. Look at it. Nothing but old books. Dickens, Thackeray, Victor Hugo.
filthy nonsense. Filthy nonsense.
These are rare editions, Margaret. Please don't handle them like that.
I'll handle them as they deserve. I'll tear them or burn them or fling them about.
No, Margaret. Margaret! How dare you? It happens that I love this shop and the things in it.
You'd like to die here.
What?
You said so in your sleep last night. I wish I were dead. That's what I heard you say. I don't know what's come over you, Christopher. Moody all the time. Sulking, sulking, sulking. Pity you feel so sorry for yourself.
Margaret, please. Constable Smithers can hear every word.
Let him. Let everybody hear. I've nothing to hide. I never dream about suicide. I made a mistake when I married you, but I'm trying to make the best of it. Pity you can't do the same. Pity you feel there's only one way out.
Yes, a pity. 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 The quiet was gone. The gentle, thoughtful quiet. A bookshop should be a peaceful place. I didn't remember dreaming about suicide, but I suppose I had such dreams. A man wants peace, even if it's only the peace of the grave. Oh, good morning.
Good morning. I wonder if you have St. Maur by D.H. Lawrence, I believe published by Heinemann.
Yes, Heinemann does publish Lawrence, but I'm afraid we don't have... if you'll just step over here. There's been quite a demand for Lawrence lately, and with books in short supply...
I know.
Let me see. St. Maur. There's one copy of Sons and Lovers, one Gypsy. No, I'm afraid we're out. May I order it for you?
No, I really prefer to look for it. It's a good excuse to go tramping about, prowling through bookshops.
Do you like bookshops?
Oh, yes.
I'm glad.
Why?
Oh, nothing. I simply glad. I'm sorry not to have had your book.
I'll find it. Thank you so much.
You might try the Ken bookshop near Victoria Station.
Thank you, I will.
Oh, another idea. Suppose you leave your name and telephone number, and then I'd be able to ring you up if you should happen to come in.
Oh, would you be good enough to do that? My name is Anne Stevens.
Mrs. Anne Stevens?
No, Miss Anne Stevens. Bayswater 3210.
Miss Anne Stevens had red hair, too. But not simply orange red like Margaret's. Her hair was like burnished copper, all warm and bright down to her shoulders. And when she walked in the sunlight, it seemed to be splashed with gold. And I thought to myself, it's probably fragrant and soft to touch. It was only a few days later I met her again in crowded Hyde Park. I'm sorry. Why, Miss Stevens. I am sorry. Well, no, I'm not, really. I mean,
Hello.
Did I hurt you?
Of course not. It's Mr. Swan, isn't it?
Yes. You've a remarkable memory for faces.
No more than you. You remembered me.
Oh, but that's different. I've thought about you.
Did you? How nice.
Trying to find a copy of St. Maur. You know. You remember that's what you wanted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did find a copy that same day at the Ken bookshop, thanks to your advice.
Oh.
It's a lovely work.
I haven't read it.
Really? Oh, Mr. Swan, let me give it to you. That is so you could read it. I'll bring it to your shop.
Suppose you bring it to me here. Right here, to this very spot.
Good. Tomorrow, same time.
Tomorrow, same time. And I'll bring something I want you to read. There were many tomorrows, but never enough of them. We talked and walked and spent wonderful hours together, and so many of them were utterly silent because it wasn't necessary to talk. Because when you know someone deeply in your heart, and a red-haired woman, so that charlatan with my name could look into the future, but there were two red-haired women, and I'd met the wrong one first. He came to the shop again, late in the autumn.
Well, good morning, Mr. Swan. Still alive, I see.
Still alive?
Yes, naturally. Until November 9th. That was my prediction, Mr. Swan. Pity.
What is it you want of me, please? Why do you try to impress me? I don't believe a word you say. You must know
The
that.
prophet who gazes into the future, Mr. Swan, knows many things. Bitter things. And he knows more than anything else How we struggle against that which is ordained and which we cannot change.
Rot.
If you say so. Have you a bit of paper, please? Just a bit of paper, whatever's about.
What do you mean, to write on? To wrap something?
No, to write a curious phrase that's been running through my mind. Oh, there, that tablet, that will do. Thank you, Mr. Swan. Here. I'm writing down a bit from a book. You're a bookman. Perhaps you can tell me what book it's from. Wasn't like a man at all to her. There we are. Just read it aloud, please. Huh?
She could not believe it was actually happening. When she was dancing in the afternoon at Claridge's, or in the evening at the Carlton, sliding about with some suave young man who wasn't like a man at all to her.
Well, Mr. Swan?
I recognize it. What about it? It's from a novel by D.H. Lawrence, a novel called St. Maur. It appears somewhere in the first third of the book.
Yes, how curious. I seem to see it written on the flyleaf for the book. Hey, said, wait, now I seem to see something beneath it.
Oh, this is absurd.
In the same feminine hand, a delightful hand, the words, "You see, I love you, Anne." Is that correct, Mr. Swan?
Get out of here.
That book seems to be under the papers in the left-hand bottom drawer of your desk. Mr. Swan, how can you be so indiscreet?
Oh, get out!
Suppose Margaret should find it. Trouble, Mr. Swan. Trouble.
What did this mean? How could he know what Anne had written in that book? Was she in league with him? She couldn't be. Not Anne. And yet, I had fallen in love with her, a red-haired woman, as he had prophesied. The answer came soon enough.
Christopher, Constable Smithers is in the shop.
Oh, is he browsing, buying, or chatting?
He wants a copy of a book called St. Maur.
Constable Smithers wishes to read St. Maur?
By D.H. Lawrence.
To begin with, I don't believe he had ever heard of it. Second, we haven't had a copy for ages.
You should take more pains with your inventory, Christopher. There's a copy right there in the bottom left-hand drawer of your desk.
Oh, no, there's not.
I say there is. And we'll have to sell it second-hand. Some lovesick girl's written something on the flyleaf.
You know Constable Smithers doesn't want that book, Margaret.
Of course he doesn't.
I didn't think so. And there's no copy of St. Maur in the desk.
There we differ.
Well, look for yourself.
Thank you. I will. And what do you call this?
Oh, but it's impossible.
Impossible, is it? And didn't I find it here myself this morning, and didn't I read the inscription?
You put it there yourself.
Oh, now I know you've gone mad. I only suspected it before.
Yesterday, the book was in that drawer, when Swan predicted that you'd find it there. But I took it out and hid it upstairs in my bedroom. You returned it to the drawer to make his prediction come true. I didn't sleep well that night. It was the night of November the 8th. Many things had become clear. Margaret knew this fellow Swan, had known him before I met her. Between them, they had arranged his prophecies, the marriage, and the business of the book. This duplicity, this plot against me, was relieved only by one thing. Anne was not in league with Swan, and she did love me. I remember thinking, as I drifted into sleep, that if I could survive the next 24 hours, I would be safe and could free myself for Anne. When I woke, I found my hands tied to a bedpost with a silk scarf, and Margaret standing at the window that's above the entrance of the shop. Mr. Swan stood on a chair at the clothes cupboard. He was twisting a large hook into the top of the door frame.
Good morning, my boy. It's the 9th of November.
Oh, your prophecy.
Christopher Swan, hanged by the neck until dead. Well, you might show some fright, at least some surprise.
I'm too filled with loathing for you both. So you're going to murder me?
What a frightful idea. No, you're going to commit suicide. Pity.
Don't talk to him, Kit. Get it done with.
Oh, yes, Maggie, surely. Maggie is my sister, Mr. Swan.
I knew there was some relationship between you. You have the same tricks of expression. You use the word pity so often. There's not much pity in either of you, is there?
It was a little, Mr. Swan, but it's not stronger than 50,000 pounds. There we are. Do you think that hook will hold, Mr. Swan?
Oh, come to the point. You don't really intend to murder me. What is it you want?
Maggie, he thinks we're only pretending.
Hurry, will you? It's almost time.
Oh, poor Maggie. I hope her share of your fortune will console her. Will it console you, Maggie?
Oh, shut up.
Maggie's having a touch of nerves. Isn't that silly, Mr. Swan? There's no danger to us in this. So many of your customers have heard you threaten to commit suicide.
I doubt if one ever did.
Oh, they think they did, Mr. Swan. That's all that matters. Do you realize how many times Maggie has shouted that information from the back of the shop? Constable Smithers heard it.
Nevertheless, he knows me better than to believe.
Oh, does he? Shall I tell you what Constable Smithers will say to the coroner? He'll say, Yaldy would do himself in some day. Yelled it all the time from the day they was married. And there he swung, sir, with his face all black, his eyes bugged out.
Stop it! You're too fond of talking. You'll get us into trouble.
Absurd.
Margaret, you actually married me with this day in mind?
Of course I did.
And you're really going to kill me?
That's the plan.
And I'm sorry there isn't enough of a drop to do the thing quickly, old man. You'll be struggling for quite a bit.
Yes, I know you'll both enjoy watching me.
No, not Maggie. No. Maggie's watching for the constable to turn the corner on his rounds. And then she's going to scuttle down the stairs while I do the job, lock the door from the inside, slip through the trapdoor in the cupboard, and away like St. Nicholas over the rooftops. Then she'll say to him, Constable, there's something wrong. There's something wrong.
There he is, Kit,
Huh?
at the corner. Oh, he stopped to talk.
Well, are you ready, Mr. Swan? Because here you go.
Oh, don't come at me with that noose. I can still kick. I can shout.
Oh, the walls are thick, my friend. That's why you bought this house. They were built to endure.
I told you to chloroform him.
Ah, don't be stupid. Chloroform leaves traces.
You wanted him conscious, so he could know how clever you are, always acting. You and your silly November 9th.
Oh, will you stop yammering? The constable must be halfway down the street.
He's still at the corner.
You better wait. Better wait till he comes this way, Margaret. They'll say you had time to do it if he finds me cold.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. That's excellent advice.
He's not really pleased, Margaret. Look at him. He wants you to be caught.
Christopher, I'm disappointed. What childish tactics.
Is it, Swan? Is it? Look at him, Margaret. That struck home. It struck home.
And I think I'll have to close your mouth, my friend.
Not while I can kick.
Maggie, throw yourself across his legs.
Don't give in, Margaret. Remember, you face the constable. He gets away over the rooftop.
Maggie, are you in a trance? Throw yourself across his legs.
No.
Maggie, I can't get at him.
I don't care. I don't like it.
It's too late to think about that. Where's the constable? If you won't help me here, get back to that window.
No, he's right.
Bravo, Margaret.
I'm the one who has to go down to Smithers and establish an alibi.
Yes.
I'm the one who'll have to answer all their questions.
That's right.
And where will you be? Where will you be? Safe. Who knows about you?
Yes, and when they hang you for murdering me, he'll inherit the loot. He'll get it all.
Oh, close your trap.
No. I haven't any protection. You hold all the cards.
Of course he does.
Maggie, you're going to ruin everything. Don't you trust your own flesh and blood?
No.
Get back to your post.
Let go of me.
Back to the window. I'll kill you both.
That's it,
Go.
Margaret. Fight him.
Push
Fight
me.
him.
Don't push me. I can push too. I can push. Oh. Oh, Kit. Kit. Oh.
It's queer goings on, sir, you being bound to the bed like this, and him breaking through the window and then hanging from the sign. You'll have to answer some questions, Mrs. Swan.
Hanging from the sign.
I killed him. I killed him.
Yes, and I saw it happen. Saw him smash through the window and come tumbling down and catch his Adam's apple right in the very crook of the elbow, where the sparrows build a nest every spring. Right in the very crook. And there he swung, caught fast, Mr. Swan. Ah, it was horrible, sir. His face black and his eyes bugged out.
Stop it. Oh, stop it.
Another prophecy come true.
What's that, Mr. Swan?
I think he could foretell the future. I believe he could. November the 9th. Christopher Swan hanged by the neck until dead. Only he had the wrong Christopher Swan.
Thank you, Ronald Coleman, for a splendid performance.
Oh, Mr. Coleman, would you listen to a sound effect with us for a moment?
Why, certainly, Mr. Wilcox.
Okay, boys. Mr. Coleman, would you say that sounds like Jack Benny's Maxwell?
Yes, I'd say there's a great similarity.
Well, just listen to what Jack Benny's old Maxwell might sound like if it had new Autolite resistor spark plugs and a complete Autolite ignition system.
Mr. Wilcox, if I had a set of those Autolite spark plugs around the house, sooner or later Benny would borrow them. And then perhaps we'd be spared that awful racket.
Well, we'll see what we can do, Mr. Coleman. Friends, Autolite resistor spark plugs are made by Autolite men who make over 400 products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats in 28 Autolite plants from coast to coast. Yes, sir, and Autolite also makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All ignition engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, folks, don't accept electrical parts that are supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
Now here again is Mr. Ronald Coleman.
It's always an interesting and pleasant experience to appear on Suspense, and especially when I can work with such a fine company of actors. Next week, we're all in for a special treat when radio's outstanding theater of thrills presents Edmund Gwenn in a story called Murder in Black and White. Another gripping study in
Suspense.
Tonight's play was written by William Fifield and adapted for Suspense by Herb Meadow. Music was composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Betty Grable, Mickey Rooney, Bob Hope, and many others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Next Thursday, same time, hear Edmund Gwenn in Murder in Black and White.
You can buy Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite stay-full batteries, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
Here's great news. Suspense on television may be seen in many parts of the country every Tuesday night. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's our Strange Tale for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. You can find more from Suspense at relicradio.com, alongside thousands of other old-time radio shows, all the other Relic Radio podcasts, and our Shoutcast stream. Plenty to listen to, all available for free thanks to your support. If you'd like to help support this and all of the shows, help make it free for everyone, visit donate.relicradio.com or click on one of the links on the website. It's the only way this show keeps coming to you every week. Thanks to those who have helped out. Thanks for joining me today. I will be back next Sunday with another episode of Relic Radio's Strange Tales.